An expose of alcoholism in Native American cultures by Isabelle Lopez. Although it is generally a stereotype that many Native Americans are alcoholics or have some sort of struggle with alcoholism, there is some validity to it. There shares an enlightening story of the struggle and the connections to alcoholism in Native American communities within the real world. Some of the causes of alcoholism are the desire to forget, cope with stress, to feel a sense of control, the general acceptance of alcohol consumption at such a young age, to cope with abuse, sexual or domestic, to cope with death and loss, or simply due to genetics. There by Tommy Orange. Orange is a Native American author wanting to expose all the many struggles and difficulties that Natives face, including alcoholism, which is a main theme throughout his novel. We are focusing on 5 out of the 12 main characters: Thomas Frank, Jackie Redfeather, Harvey, Octavio Gomez, and Tony Lohman, who all suffer from alcohol-related issues. History. Way back in 1492, and even before, when Christopher Columbus came to North America, and in the many years after that, colonizers began to trade with Native Americans. It's been found that colonization weakened traditional controls limiting drinking that violated social customs, and the once minor problem of unauthorized drunkenness became widespread. They, Native Americans, have a shared pain that they cannot and should not just let go of, because their past is what defines them, as Tommy Orange suggests throughout his novel. To forget, cope with stress, or feel control over their lives. Thomas Frank uses alcohol as a way out. He uses this term, the state, which is the state of being in when he isn't drunk, but isn't sober, but perfectly in between. Thomas says, the state was a place you could get to where everything felt exactly, precisely in place. Where and when it belonged, you belonged. Completely okay in it. Almost like your dad used to say, isn't it? Like, isn't that right? Isn't that true? Researchers at Johns Hopkins Center for American Indian Health found that cases frequently describe drinking to avoid or forget their problems and to regulate stress and their emotions, anger, sadness, depression. Saying they drink not to feel pain, to get away or escape, and get rid of ugly or negative feelings. General acceptance of underage drinking. By the age of 15, most youths of both sexes had tried alcohol, and some are drinking regularly. Jackie Redfeather started drinking as a teen with a group of Native American teenagers. Her sister Opal gives an account to this, saying, "The closer I got to them, the more I noticed Jackie was acting weird, all loud and crooked looking, and I saw that they were passing around a bottle. It just got into Jackie. She drank long and hard from it." To cope with abuse, sexual or domestic. Native women experience significantly more rapes or sexual assaults than any other group of women in the United States. Jackie Redfeather also experienced a rough childhood with many heartbreaks and complications, including sexual assault and the death of her mother and daughter, and self-inflicted disconnection from her grandsons. Harvey, the one we find out who raped Jackie Redfeather, was also abused too, and he copes with his past traumas by abusing others and turning to alcohol. To cope with death and loss. Native American culture's high rates of heavy and binge drinking put American Indians at the greatest risk for alcohol-related deaths from violence, motor vehicle accidents, and suicide. Octavio has witnessed or had to deal with many deaths in his life too, including his father, who was shot trying to protect him, his mother and brother, who died in a car accident due to his Uncle Sixto driving under the influence of alcohol, and his cousin, who died while fighting another man. A few cases described drinking after they got in a fight, experienced physical or verbal abuse, suffered the loss of a loved one, romantic rejection, or were kicked out of their house, states one study. This will make sense why Octavio also experiences alcoholism. Due to genetics, or how the genetics of alcoholism affect the next generation. Tony Lohman, a main character in Orange's book, was born with fetal alcohol syndrome, or also shortened to FAS. In Tony's case, due to his genetics, he does not result to drinking. However, it is quite the opposite. Although he is legally of age, he says, "I'm 21 now, which means I can drink if I want, but I don't though. The way I see it, I got enough when I was a baby in my mom's stomach." A 1994 study by Stephen J. Kunitz and Gerald E. Levy found that binge drinking is more common among Indians and that Indians are more susceptible to diabetes, cirrhosis of the liver, fetal alcohol syndrome, and other alcohol-related diseases than are non-Indians. Conclusion. Throughout the hundreds of years since alcohol was introduced to Native American culture, alcoholism has stayed a current issue for Natives. However, this is not a topic to overgeneralize or stereotype because not all Natives are alcoholics. Becoming more aware of the dangers is the first step to changing. Many articles discussed in this paper, however, have found that there is not enough research on highly important topics that could result in highly dangerous statistics if nothing happens. Change starts with awareness and the ability to not be complacent with the things we know, but to dig in and research where we can make a difference. Maybe we know a friend, a family member, a friend of a friend, or even a complete stranger that suffers from an epidemic such as this. By knowing why it is caused and how it can be healed or prevented, we can make the world a better place, even if it is just in our own backyard. It all starts somewhere, so why not let it start with us? Thank you very much.